welcome to Mr. G's Workbench. I'm John. It's time for another edition of Get Off My Bench. If you've been watching, we've been doing a build review of Kitty Hawk Sukhoi 30, and I've kind of ground to a halt on that. I'm waiting for paint masks. I thought they were going to be here in a few days. They're coming from Europe. So it's going to be a couple of weeks probably until I have them in my hand. In the meantime, I'll show you what I was working on. I had gone back to work on this. It's Trumpeter's 1/350th scale USS New York. The kit is nice. I used a wood deck, you can see there. I'm happy with the build so far. The kit provided photo etch has been great. This isn't going to be the project for Get Off My Bench today, as you probably know by the title already. Anyway, let me show you the right project. And the project that we're actually working on, if you didn't get it from the title, was AFV Club's IDF Sho't Centurion. I'm sure it's not pronounced shot. It's probably pronounced some other way, Sho't or something, for I don't speak Hebrew, so I don't know. Bought it partially built, so there was some work done on the chassis. So I'll show you what's already done. I'll show you what we're working with, and we'll jump right into the build, all right? So we've got Dexter with us. Dexter. So when you hear those weird wheezing noises in the back, you'll know who it is. All right, let's take a look in the box. We've got this semi-completed hull with semi-working suspension. So that's just about done. Again, this was all done by whoever had this kit before me. We've got rubber tracks. We've got the wheels. We've got two little sheets of photo etch, wire for cables, decals, and then we've got the directions, two metal barrels, because there are two different types, so it depends on which year and model you're doing. And all the rest is plastic. First hiccup we've encountered, because again, this was already started. You'll see this piece here with this triangular shaped piece. This is all one piece laid on top of this rear deck. Well, apparently the person who was building this set this too far back. The back of this is supposed to line up with the back of this grill. So I'm going to try to carefully remove these because they're interfering with this cover for the exhaust. The tabs on the bottom of this triangular shaped area is supposed to line up with that piece. So I'm going to try to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to try to carefully wedge it back out and see if we can reset them. All right. Lucky me. Alright, it took a little extra plastic off the back, but I got it. So what I'll do is I'll just sand this flat again. I'll put it in at the correct spot. Let me see if I can get the other one off in the meantime.
Many minutes later.
You know what, I just thought about this. These probably aren't the correct ones, but they're in the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this one off and we'll start from scratch. One thing I will note, the exhaust end of the muffler assembly. This is not the correct one. This is probably meant for a different version. The one you needed was two pieces of N2 on each side. Well, I found this one assembled in the box, but the other one is to the wind. So there's nothing we can do about that. So that's why I went back and I'm using the ones from a different version. It's better than nothing. These are the other pieces for back here that I found in the box. Better than nothing. Again, I was able to place them in the correct locations so that they're lined up the way they should be. The only difference between this and the one that was on the tank is there's a dip here. I'm sure it's meant to accommodate something. It'll come back to bite me later on, but I'd rather have these in the right spot. So, all right, time for a rant because now I'm getting agitated with this. See that? F8. What F8 was like an extra plate of armor that went over the front of the tank in step 16. I dutifully added F8, and F8 is on there. apparently, shame on me for not turning the page. I'm looking ahead. Now, there's like a mishmash of different instructions depending on if it's a Mark V or Mark V or 1. Nobody bothered to tell you about this earlier. Depending on which thing you follow, you're basically sanding all the detail off of F8. I could have did that before I put it on. See these photo etch brackets that went on here for the fenders? Well, there's 2 different sets of them. Back here, when we acted like nothing was going on, we put G10 and G11, right? Mark V. I'm like, all right, well, if it's not a Mark V, I guess I'm not putting anything. No. Then it turns out, if you put this extra piece of armor plate on, there were 2 other photo etch brackets to use instead, which probably were the shorter versions as opposed to me taking the 2 that were there and cutting them down when they didn't fit. And then the other problem here is now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you should drill holes in here for the tracks, for track brackets, for the spare tracks that go there. Like, no, you should have told me to drill those holes before I put the plate on. Oy. And then the other thing I noticed, another one of these armor brackets, like the one here. There was one here and it's not here anymore. I'm gonna have to make do with what I have and I'll figure out a solution to that. I don't think anybody's gonna see that anyway. It's behind some armor skirting, so I can probably just put another piece of styrene in to hold that in. So, on. All right. Sorry, I didn't show too much of the build process. I mean, I think we all know how to build a model, whether it's a tank or an airplane. We know how to glue pieces together. And I wasn't doing anything super complicated. So this is what we've got going into paint. I've got the body, the chassis is done. I've got the tow cables on. We discussed my my grief over that. We've got rubber tracks. Confidentially, I have another Centurion kit in the stash, and that one I have metal tracks for, but to learn to do all this, there was no point in wasting them on this build, and this is more of a learning build than anything. We've got side skirts. I still have to cut this one off, and then we'll clean those up. I'm really happy with the turret. They give you 2 metal barrels depending on the version you use, and that's the one you use. It's suggested that AFV Club sells a resin replacement mantlet for this because it would be covered in fabric. Ain't happening. The turret was a little annoying to put together, but in the long run, everything fell into place once I figured out how to build up this rack with the tracks on it. I posed the commander's hatch open. You know, maybe at some point I can get a figure to stick in there. There's lots of detail. You know, if you want to leave hatches open, you could probably like detail around the hatch and make it look good. That wasn't happening for me. I'm happy with this. This is what we're going with. I may do antennas. I don't know if I really am gonna like jump up and down to get that done. Oh, on the turret, it's supposed to be a 50 cal here, a Browning M2. I got the M2, it's in the box. It won't be on the kit though because they give you that little piece of photo etch is supposed to hold the M2 on the pintle. There are so many bends to make in this that as I made the bends, the minute you double back on a bend, it snaps right in half. So that went off to the Never Neverland of John's, abandoned ideas. So I got a bag of wheels I'm gonna paint. I got the tank body, the turret, the tracks, and the skirts. So we're gonna head over there to the paint booth and I've been asked to kind of document how I paint, so we're going to do that today. We're going to start with primer. And the two airbrushes I use, I have a Badger Patriot 105. That's like a really big spraying airbrush, so I mainly just use that for priming and stuff, nothing that needs fine tuning. My go-to airbrush for regular work is this Badger's Sho't 2020. I got that during one of their yearly sales, so I only paid I think I paid 50 or 60 bucks for it. That's half of what they cost, so I'm happy with that. I try to keep it clean. I try to maintain, replace the needle if I see the tip is bent. It's been serving me well, so I'll probably keep with that for near future. So let's go over to the paint booth. I'll explain priming, and then we'll get into priming, painting. We'll see where we go from there, all right? All right, here's the plan of action. Before I turn on the fan, and you won't be able to hear squat after that, when I turn on the fan, I've got my Patriot 105 ready to go. My first choice in primer would be Stynylrez, black Stynylrez. I think I might have enough to do this, so let's give it a shot. We're going to hit everything with Stynylrez. The tires are rubber, which is another reason I'd be partial to using the Stynylrez. I'm hoping that at least I can put like a barrier over them, since I'm going to be painting. On top of that, I'm going to be using AK rubber and tires. I'm going to paint the whole wheel. I'm going to paint these with the AK rubber and tires, and then I'll go back with a circle template and I'll cover the tire part, and I'll paint the tank color, which is like another thing we'll discuss in a minute. We're going to hit the tank body, the turret, the side skirts, and possibly the tracks with the Stynylrez. I'll see how far it goes, and after that I might coach the drying process along with a hair dryer. I'm just saying. So let's get primer on and let's see what we have after that, okay? Apologies, I It's hard for me to get used to doing this, but so what I've started doing is I'm doing chipping. So you can see I'm chipping the armor plate on the sides, around the edges, and around where the plates meet, up on the edge here, because I'm imagining that if this popped off, this probably got scratched up. What I'm using for the chipping is this dark yellow that I was hesitant to use as a primary color. And what I've done is I've added a couple of drops to the cup with a couple of drops of X20A. And then what I'm doing is I'm just taking most of it off this little piece of foam I'm using. I've ripped this into like a jagged piece. And I'm just dabbing it ever so lightly. So I'm just tapping it there. And I'm not looking for any kind of uniform coverage. I'm just trying to get that to look like the paint's come off. You see right there. I've done it a little here. I'm trying to get any of the high wear areas, so maybe some up here. Just a little bit. I'm not going to overdo it. I don't think the tank would have been. You can see you're leaving more on the paper towel than on the sponge. The same thing here. There's just enough on there where I can leave spots. Just gonna, and again, I'm no armor guy, so take it with a grain of salt. Whatever I'm doing, somebody's probably done differently. I've kind of used, if you haven't watched any videos from Night Shift, he's kind of my go-to guy for this. He's actually got a couple of videos just about chipping and basic weathering and stuff, and I'm just trying to use some of his basic weathering. Again, I'm not going to do anything crazy because I don't think, if there's no damage, then I don't think that it's going to be anything ridiculous. And you can see I'm just, like, once in a while I'll give it a little pop just to get a decent sized paint chip. But the rest of it is, I'm hoping I'm keeping it subtle. You know, the plates would rattle around on top, I'm guessing. Might get some rocks or some debris kicked up on the bottom. Just that much. Nothing insane. Mostly up at the edges. That's where it would be. So that's what it looks like for me. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, snide or otherwise. If you think it looks good, let me know. If you think I could do better, if there's a better way to do this, I'm all in. I also chipped up along here where where the panels to access the engine would be. We'll go back with the darker color after this. Here's the turret. Again, just gonna hit the top of this, places where stuff would naturally get, where people would step. And again, I'm not gonna go crazy either. See, now that sucks. I'm probably gonna have to go back and touch that up. That's a little too much. Ugh, I did it again. Next step, after we did the chipping with the dark yellow, the next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going with Vallejo steel and a drop of jet black from Hataka, with most of which I don't think really had much effect, but I kind of mushed it around in here, and I'm using a very, very fine tip brush. Just getting a little in there and then trying to fill in the middle of the chips with that steel and black mix. Like, it's not going to be perfect. This is like as good as I can do. That's the reason why you got to use a real fine tip brush, is because you're kind of just putting some dots in there. So I think you can see that. Again, like down here now, there's like a whole series of them. So visually, I think it works. I like the effect. And you just kind of go in and dot, dot, dot. I mean, I suppose if any of those dots are too big, you could always go back with that lighter color, or even with the original color of the khaki, and kind of refine it. But so far, like I said, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'm trying not to overdo it. I think right there, even with that big mark, I think you can kind of see that, and I like that effect because it almost looks like the paint is kind of peeling up off the plate. And then we'll do the same on the turret. Didn't really go too crazy up here, so if you can make that out at all. Now over here I had a big blotch of dark yellow, and what I did is I went back with a toothpick and I kind of picked at it, got some of the main clump off, and then I went back and hit it again with sponge with a little bit of khaki on it. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I've done the chipping, the superficial chipping that I'm going to do. I'm going to put a gloss coat on the whole thing, and then I'm going to start applying washes. Pick back up with that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to apply some rust into the centers of these chipped areas. I've got a enamel light rust wash from AK. Shake this up good. And I've got a little bit of mineral spirits here, so I can use that to clean up as I go along. Just kind of get into. You can barely see it, but it's there. I'll post some pictures by the time you see this video on Instagram with close-ups. And again, it's just 3D enough to work. So you can see there's a lot there, and I'm going to go back with the mineral spirits, and I'm going to take care of that. Basically anywhere there's a dark spot that, you know, is the steel color, we're going to get some of that rust in there. Like, even though it's out in the desert, it doesn't mean things don't rust, because I've got pictures to show that they do. I blame this all on Night Shift. If you don't like it, go to Uncle Night Shift's videos and leave him a comment that he gave me bad info. But I really like this effect. It looks pretty 3D for me. So I'm going to just go back and kind of work that out a bit. So I dipped the brush in the mineral spirits, just trying to pick up a little of the rust, leave just enough behind. You still want to see that dark spot inside of the chip, and you want to see the chip too. And I guess the point is to try and keep it subtle, wicking away a little bit at the rust. So that's where it's at. I hope you can see that. So, you know, you've got the layer of the dark yellow, then you go into the center of the chips. That's where you get the steel color. Then you come back with the rust wash, And especially you can see like here and here, you know, where the paint is chipped, and now it's starting to kind of eat away at it. Same thing back here. You've got the chips, and then you've got that light bit of rust. I'm happy with that. I'm actually very happy with that. I finished those rust spots we discussed. So what I wound up doing was I took a little bit of, you know, I know guys buy the most expensive oil paints to use for weathering. I bought the cheapest oil paints I could get for weathering. I took a little dab of it, put it on this paper so it'll start wicking the oil off. Then I took a little bit and added it to the mineral spirits I had, and I just kind of mixed it together. And I'm just applying a basic wash to the vehicle. So like if I go here, just kind of try to go around where these cables are molded in, these locks. I'm trying to hit this stuff now. Where the jerry cans are on the back of the turret. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just trying to get some shadows on it. Try to just get in here. And then what I did was I've been dabbing off the excess with a cotton bud. And then what I'm going to do back here is I'm going to just try to I also hit where these toolboxes are. I tried to hit the spaces in between them. Tried to hit the spaces in between the armor plates. And I ran a wash on the wheels. I also ran it, you can see here, I didn't go crazy. I ran it up into as many of these areas as I could. The only thing I might do is I might go back with just some clean mineral spirits and just clean up any areas that I think look kind of out of place. After I hit the tracks with the light rust wash on top of the dark tracks, I think that's gonna do. I'm using my phone to do the final video on this. So we hit it with the dust. And then I hit it with a coat of Tester's dull coat. And overall, I'm gonna say I'm reasonably happy with this. The reason I'm using my phone for this is because I can get closer in terms of focus. You can see how the tracks turned out. I'm pretty good with that. I tried to weather them up as much as I can. It seems like some of it just kind of fades away as soon as you're done with it. I'm pretty happy with the way the spare tracks turned out. The different coats of washes that I did, the chipping effect, I think you'll see the chipping effect better on the side here when I turn it. The first thing I can see that I'm not too thrilled with, but I don't know what I can do with it at this point, is the dust. The dust started to come out in speckles instead of as a mist, which kind of annoyed the daylights out of me. Let me try and focus on the... I'm very happy with the chipping, especially over here. You can kind of see it. In my opinion, it's not overdone. You can let me know what you think in the comments. You can see the black wash settled in well in the cabinets and the latches and stuff. The dirt and the washes in the wheels look pretty good to me. I mean, the silver that's supposed to represent the worn metal on the guide teeth on the tracks looks okay. I think I could have did a little better on my exposed steel on the idler wheel there. My bad. Up here on the turret, the smoke dischargers here, they don't look too bad. I tried here on the handles, I tried to get the sand wash on top. It was called Africa Dust Effect. It was just a very pale tan wash. And then the black washes on the bottoms and on the latches. So I think that played out okay. You can see there's a very faint black wash on the turret cast number. We've got more chipping over here. Again, I'm not too thrilled with the way the dust sprayed on. I don't know if it's just the way I did it. I don't know if it was my airbrush. If anybody's got an idea, you can, again, let me know in the comments. I'd like as much feedback as I can get from you guys in the comments on this. so that I can do better on the next one, because the next one is going to be the Sherman. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Pretty good with the way this turned out. The exhaust here, rust wash, just to kind of apply a sloppy coat of that on so that it would kind of blend with the color of the exhaust. We've got the tow cables were actually the string that was provided with the kit. I think if I use it again on the next one, we'll lay the cables in. I'm going to hit them with a diluted coat of white glue and water, or PVA and water, just to kind of get them to get a little more solid. I think these are called dead eyes. They look good to me. I'm happy with that. The few decals that had to go on came out okay. This one started to come apart on me a little when I was applying it, so you can see the difference between them. Part of the Hebrew character that was there. The tracks, I tried to be subtle with the weathering. I hope it looks the way it should look. Somebody will let me know for sure. Got more of the chipping here. I have to hit that with just a tad more glue. I'm happy with that chipping again. I think this chipping looks three-dimensional. I think it looks pretty realistic. I think it's subtle. Again, you can see the speckling from the dust. It's not what I envisioned, so I'm a little disappointed with that. But I am happy with the overall finish. I think the dust acted as a sort of filter, and I think I accomplished that. Again, there's more of the chipping. That decal was a bit of a pain, although, wow, I can actually read it. I didn't realize it was that good. Again, I applied this clear part to the front of this vision port at the end. The material that AFV Club used for these clear parts up here, it wasn't typical clear, it wasn't clear styrene, that's for sure. It almost felt like a clear vinyl, if that even makes sense. And then we had the metal barrel. That went on well. I didn't do the antennas. I might. Again, this was one big experiment to see how I would do with armor. The next armor project is going to be the Sherman tank. So that's a close-up look at the Centurion, pronounced Sho't from what I've read on the interwebs. That's the Hebrew word SHO''T. It's the Sho't Centurion. I got a lot out of it. My biggest takeaway from this was partly the process of building and assembling in terms of painting the wheels. Big takeaway for me was the chipping. I think I did well with it. Whether or not I applied it too much or too little, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know overall what you think of the build in the comments. I've been posting some detailed pictures on the Instagram account. The Instagram account handle is here, Mr. G's Workbench. I think overall it was a good process. I think the product at the end was pretty good considering my experience level with tanks. I think I could have did better with the rubber tracks. I know there are workarounds to get the tracks to look a little more authentic. I don't think they sag where they shouldn't sag for me. I don't know in terms of weathering. I don't think I weathered them enough, but I wasn't sure what color to weather them with. I mean, if it's a tank that's supposed to be in the Middle East, it's not going to be the same as a tank in North Africa. I would think it's going to be different in terms of dust and dirt and stuff. So let me know what you think in the comments. I think we'll get better results on the next one. It can only get better. I hope you guys came away with something from this. I know I did. I hope you enjoyed it. Get off my bench is a good way for me to kind of clear up half-built projects. So thank you. We're up to 93 subscribers as of today. I can't thank you guys enough, guys and gals, for your ongoing support. Thank you for the encouraging replies I've gotten. And again, I hope you like and subscribe. Leave me a thumbs up. The more interaction I get, the more people can see this. And again, I'm not monetized. We're certainly not doing this for any kind of profit. So I do it to share my enjoyment of the hobby with you. So until the next time, thanks for stopping in with Mr. G's Workbench, and we'll see you in the next video.